Hey everybody, doing a little sound check, make sure I can be heard, mic's working and all that good stuff. Hey everybody, doing a little sound check, make sure I can be heard. And everything is up and running. Well folks, this is just gonna be a quick live. I don't really have like any major news or whatever that I want to share, but I was thinking about Summer Wells and Isabella Kalua. Um, I've been thinking about them really hard the last few days, and some things just kind of stood out to me that I just kind of wanted to put out there. If you're not familiar with Isabella Kalua, she is a 6-year-old little girl who disappeared last month in Waimanalo, Hawaii. She was recently adopted within the last year. There are some red flags about her adoption, about her foster care placement. Hi, Sleep Mom, how are you? And um, just the people around her. Well, the one thing that was really standing out to me is that as a foster child or a child under court supervision, that she had broken bones, but CPS decided to leave her in the home. Well, that was strange to me because when my kids were growing up, I had an incident where I believe my son was maybe like 7, 6 years old, and his older sister, who would have been like maybe 10 or 11 at the time, they were messing around. She hit him with a book, and the book caused an injury to his eye, and it was a pretty serious injury. Well, in the course of that, the doctors were asking me all kind of strange questions. They even called CPS on me, and I'm like, it was an accident, kids playing, whatever. Of course, it was. They went on about their business. There was nothing, no wrongdoing or abuse or anything going on. But to think that in a situation like that, just being a parent of some average, active kids who have accidents and things happen, to have CPS called in a situation like that, but you have a child who's under court supervision who receives two broken bones within a relatively short period of time because the injuries were like 4 months apart. This child received two major injuries within a relatively short period of time, and yet she was allowed to stay in this home. Now, with the broken fingers, is the main one that kind of sticks out to me because with the broken leg, she received treatment immediately. She was taken to the emergency room. But with the broken finger, there was delayed treatment. She didn't receive any treatment immediately. So to me, that was sound suspicious because why would you not go and get this kid checked out? Broken fingers are, unless it was like a hairline fracture or something, but they use specific terminology. They said broken, not fractured. And I've learned that there is a difference between broken and fractured. A fracture could just be a hairline fracture, something that really won't inhibit you. It'll cause you pain if you move a certain way or if you bend a certain way. But a break is outright obvious and painful. You would have known that this child had a serious injury beyond just, oh, I jammed my finger in the door. But the fact that they delayed treatment of a child under supervision kind of disturbs me. And the fact that no one thought that this might be a sign of a more serious problem is even more disturbing. Now, I've seen where the bio mom, Melanie Joseph, says that she was bringing it to their attention that she felt like Isabella was being abused over a year ago. And the gist of what I'm getting from conversations about prior reports of abuse being made by the bio family, and I'm taking it that these weren't official reports. Like no one actually called the abuse hotline or whatever. This is probably just them having a conversation with a caseworker. They're at visitation, and maybe Melanie is like, "Hey, my daughter has bruises. This doesn't look right. I think you need to check this out." So I'm assuming that these were official reports. The gist of what I'm getting from reading different things that the family has said is that the more they pursued or persisted in bringing these signs of abuse to the attention of the caseworkers involved, the more the caseworkers pushed for uh, just terminating contact with the bio family, terminating parental rights, and getting these kids adopted out. That could be financially motivated. I was recently enlightened as to how much money CPS makes per child that's adopted outside of their biological family. Swoop Mom, was that on your channel? And so there could have been a financial motivation for kind of sweeping the abuse under the rug. Okay, and the preschool teacher, yes, I do recall coming across that information as well. The preschool teacher had concerns. And I don't know, it just seems odd that she would first be in that placement and that the placement would be maintained. One thing is the red flags. When I first found Isabella's case, I originally read that child abuse expert by the name of Lang, Stephen Lane. I'm remembering this stuff off the top of my head, guys. This is kind of an impromptu live. But Stephen Lang has said that the criminal history of the foster, now adoptive father was a red flag, that Isabella nor her siblings or any other child should ever have been placed with that family as fosters and possibly not even as adopted children. He was convicted of violent crimes and of threats, of violent threats. So you have to question the inner workings here. You know, is one hand washing the other some type of way? With everything that's going on in the world today, there has to be a question of, is there some level of child trafficking involved here? Another tidbit that came to me was that the nature of the photos in the photo album that was found of Isabella, and without going into great detail, I'll just say they leave the mind open to question activities within the home where she was living. So that brings me kind of full circle back to the question: was there some level of trafficking going on here? Was there some level of people in a position where they are supposed to prevent these types of things, to protect children from excuse me, from experiencing or continuing to experience these types of things? Were people in those positions aware of the possibilities and chose to ignore it anyway? And if so, what was their reason? And I would have to think that that would go beyond a $10,000 fee for a child adopted outside the home. Collectively, Isabella and her siblings, to protective services, would have been worth $40,000 just in adoption related fees. But I have to think that if there were something untoward going on in this home with this little girl, then motivations for ignoring that or not interceding on her behalf would have to go beyond financial gain for an institution. Because most people who are willing to turn a blind eye to something that they see going on that's wrong and that they know is wrong. Most people who are willing to turn a blind eye to that aren't going to just do it because, hey, it's going to benefit this other person who is not personally connected to me, or it's going to benefit this organization that's not going to do anything for me other than give me a job that I'm going to have to work for. They're going to do it because there is some direct benefit to themselves for turning that blind eye. Let me calm my nerves for a minute. Because when I think about Isabella and I think about Summer, I get so frustrated because these are situations where someone somewhere should have looked and said, let me do something. Or if I don't have the power to do something, let me make sure that I make enough noise that someone who does have the power to do something can step in and make something happen. So this little girl has been missing for, I believe it's 48 days now. And of her actual person, there is not a trace. There's not a footprint walking out of the yard. There's not her walking into a store on some surveillance camera. She's not on anybody's Ring doorbell camera walking away in the middle of the night. But what we do have is a photo album of this little girl that's found in a dumpster to which there is some connection to her family, and that was found before she disappeared. What we do have is a bag of her personal items, her toys, her shoes, and other things that are found in a canal, in a garbage bag, some distance from her home. This little 6-year-old girl did not walk 3 or 4 miles with a trash bag of stuff and throw it in a canal. I have yet to hear any accusations of actual physical abuse toward this child or her siblings from her biological parents or family. It's my understanding that the primary reason they were removed from their biological parents is because the parents had drug issues. And you know that along with drug issues come financial instability, come the lack of ability to maintain a home, the lack of ability to make sure that your kids are eating properly or properly dressed or attending school as they should be. So I don't think there was, and I have no evidence that there was any type of physical abuse from the biological parents or family. Y'all excuse me, I'm on the verge of tears. They just did not have the resources in their addiction to make sure that their kids were okay, and they ended up homeless. And so you take these children from a family that obviously loves them because their biological family has been there since day one, spearheading the searches, talking to the media, pleading for information. So these children and Isabella were loved by their family. So you take these children from a loving family who probably simply needed resources. They just needed maybe parenting classes, rehab, and a boost. And they have programs out there. They have programs out there through protective services where they can help you to get into a place. Once you're stable, they can help you find a job. They have jobs they can give you. I personally know people who have had protective services cases for various reasons, and that protective services actually paid for repairs to their vehicle so that they could get to work because it wasn't an issue of not loving or taking care of your children. It was an issue of your vehicle wasn't working. You couldn't get to work, so you couldn't pay your bills. They paid to fix that girl's car. So there are resources out there outside of the box that most people think of that could have been offered to this family to keep these children in a place where, had the right services been available, these parents probably could have been successful at raising their children. Isabella would probably be somewhere happy playing with her sisters right now. I look at the pictures of Isabella, and if you go back and you look, and you can see the progression before the Kaluas, Isabella had beautiful long hair. She had a bright, vibrant smile. She had chubby cheeks like a 5 or 6 year old should have. She had a glow, but over the course of time, that glow dimmed. Her hair got jacked up and hacked off. She looked thin, hungry, distressed, in pain. And now here we are looking for a 6 year old girl that shouldn't even be lost. And it's frustrating to think that no matter how this turns out, no one will ever really be held accountable for whatever happened to or is happening to Isabella. Because the people, the protective services people, they're going to find a loophole in protocol that's going to say, oh, I'm not guilty of anything. For the judges and the lawyers, they're going to find some law on the book that says, oh, that wasn't my responsibility. If the adoptive family had anything to do with it, they may suffer some consequences, but then again, maybe they haven't, because maybe they won't, because they've already started to push the narrative that, hey, she likes to sleep outside. That is the most self-serving statement, or intended to be self-serving statement I have ever heard. And the sad part is that they constructed this narrative trying to make themselves look good, but really it just makes you look bad, because why does a 6 year old girl feel safer outdoors in the elements than she does within the confines of your home? I'm going to have to stop talking about Isabella right now, or I'm not going to make it to summer. The last thing I'll say on Isabella is that if you are a prayerful person, make sure you're praying for this baby. All of them, but especially right now, let's pray for Isabella. Let's pray for her to be returned home to a family that loves her, not the Kaluas. Let's pray for her to be returned safely. On to Summer Wells. I have long ago stopped watching a lot of the channels that have Summer Wells in their titles, because the further we get away from the day she disappeared, the further the coverage gets away from helpful things toward finding Summer, figuring out what actually happened to her, and the more it delves into drama, foolishness, outlandish theories. The last thing I heard, and I just stopped even watching, and it's from a creator I respected. It wasn't even her information. She was talking about what was said on another channel, and I couldn't take it. The last thing I heard is that something about a blood mobile in the middle of the night, and Summer's being used to harvest her blood for adrenochrome. Shut the front door. We have certain known facts in Summer Wells's case. We know that on the day she disappeared, she was with her mother, her grandmother, and that teenager. We know that there's a video of her swimming that day. We know that there's a picture of her taken in the car sometime after she was swimming. We know that she was reported missing around 6:30. Whether that's the actual time she went missing, the actual time she was discovered missing, we don't know that, but we know that that's the time that the report was made. From all information that's on the table, we know that Dawn was an hour away at work in Jonesboro. That's the simplified version of the facts. Based on those facts, and mind you, I want to point this out. If there were any way at all that Hawkins County Sheriff's Department or the TBI or the FBI or any of these other agencies could punch a hole in Dawn and Candace's stories, I guarantee you it would look like Swiss cheese. So if they had any inkling that Dawn wasn't at work that day, you better believe there would be some noise made. We would most likely have an arrest by now. So, as far as we know, Dawn was an hour away at work in Jonesboro. It seems to me that instead of looking logically at the facts that we know and the conclusions that we can draw from those facts, people are jumping through hoops, bending over backwards, and becoming contortionists to twist themselves into a position to make their theories work. The logical conclusions that we can draw in Summer Wells' case is that either her mother, her grandmother, or that teenager did something to her or has knowledge of exactly what happened to her. So it seems that attention should be focused on them, figuring out their movements every single minute of the day up until the point that Summer was reported missing. Where did they go? How long were they there? Was there a camera? Were there multiple cameras? I know that there are people out there with skills to get all kinds of information, including cell phone information. If you people were that intent and dead set on finding Summer, the energy that you were expending to dig up criminal records and genealogy records on people who have absolutely nothing to do with Summer disappearing, spend that effort trying to track down some phone records. Spend that effort trying to hire a PI to go out there and talk to everybody in every location that Candace says they went that day and dig up some information. I see over the last few months, and it's kicking up again here recently, about 2 months after Summer went missing, people were doing 7, 8, 10, even 12-hour lives about Summer and not really talking about anything. And I see that extended live session is getting picked up again on several channels. I want to say spend that time picking through known facts. It's like everybody wants to get a hand in the pot on this. From Jody Sue to Dusty to Prayer Garden to everybody wants to get a hand in the pot and get a handout. And half the time, if we haven't learned the lesson now that most of these people who are popping up and saying that I became their friend, they told me this and they told me that, turn out to be liars. Either they're proven to be a liar or they, like Jody Sue, just straight up tell you that they lied. I have a hard time thinking that because me personally, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this. Listen, does this make sense? I have friends who I've known all my life. There are people out there who I went to school with from elementary school. I have really close friends that I made over the years, through my teenage years, through my 20s and 30s. I have some friends who are closer to me than some of my own siblings because of things that we went through or experiences that we shared. Okay? Let's say I have something major happen in my life, like what's going on with Summer. I haven't told any of these long term close friends and family any dire secrets concerning what happened. But I meet somebody, probably don't even meet them. Talk to someone on the internet, not even meet them face to face. Talk to somebody in a messenger, on a text, in a chat, and I'm spilling my guts to them in a week or 2 days. Does that even make sense? I mean, is this even about finding Summer anymore? Is this even about finding who it is that needs to be held accountable for whatever happened to Summer? Or is this just about getting your daily fix of drama and entertainment? I don't care if Don went to jail for DUI. At the end of the day, if I dig up all the details of what he was drinking, how much of it he drank, how many shots, what color was the glass, what was the name of the cop that arrested him, what time was it, what position, what mile marker were they by when the cop pulled him up, I can find out all that information, and none of that information is going to tell me where Summer is or what happened to her. So it's irrelevant. There's a petition out to get Summer's case in the national headlines. No national news media is going to pick this up because it is a fuster cluck. It is a series of drama, a series of outrageous characters. Can you really see NBC interviewing Jody Sue? Can you see CBS talking to Don while he's on the toilet? And I fully understand, sympathize, and agree with Sheriff Lawson when he says that social media is damaging the case. And it is because social media is turning Summer's disappearance and her dire circumstances into a joke. It's turning it into some ridiculous, overdramatic TV series. I actually see comments where people say something paraphrasing along the lines of, I got to get my daily fix of Don's antics. Not, I got to get on here and get some information that might help me understand this thing that happened on the day Summer went missing, so maybe I can connect some dots. We're talking about Candace's new teeth. Who cares? I don't care if they're veneers. I don't care if they're implants. There's actually a debate about whether Candace's new teeth are veneers or implants. It's irrelevant. If they were partial plates, it's not going to find Summer. It is beyond ridiculous. Well, I said I wasn't going to be on here long. I just had an opportunity to get on here live, and that stuff was kind of just really weighing on my mind. So just as for Isabella, I'm asking everybody to just pray. I need everybody to just pray for a conclusion. We need some answers and some closure in Summer's case because it's been too long. There is no way that a child disappeared with all these people around and there's not a shred of a clue to point a finger even at one person. I'm just praying for focus, that thoughts return to Summer, her situation, figuring that out, finding her, and away from all the extraneous, irrelevant details. I'm gonna hop off of here. I really have some things that I need to do today. Thank you, Smooth Mom, for joining my chat. Thank you to the other people who were in here. Let me scroll up for a second because Sharice, thank you for joining. I guess I will see you all next time. Bye.